The heavily fortified iron gates of Lambrook School are supposed to represent the ultimate safe haven for the youngest members of the British royal family. Hidden away in the lush, secluded countryside of Berkshire, this elite institution was carefully chosen by Prince William and Princess Catherine for one very specific reason: to give Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis a shield from the suffocating pressure of the outside world. Inside those ancient brick walls, they were never supposed to be the future of the monarchy, they were simply supposed to be children. But the terrifying reality of royal life is that the crown never truly comes off. The pressure, the relentless scrutiny, the agonizing expectations, all of it follows these children into the classroom, onto the playground, and even into the very corridors where they are supposed to feel safest. And recently, that illusion of a normal childhood was violently shattered in a devastating and unprecedented incident that sent shock waves straight to the heart of Windsor. A line was crossed. A boundary was brutally violated. And in a breathtaking moment of pure defiance, 8-year-old Prince Louis exploded with a reaction so fiercely protective, so completely unexpected, that it allegedly forced Prince William into a terrifying confrontation with the very establishment he is expected to one day lead. To understand the sheer magnitude of what happened that afternoon, you first have to understand the immense psychological pressure already resting on Princess Charlotte. At just 9 years old, Charlotte is already viewed by the global media and palace insiders as one of the most important young members of the royal generation. She is poised, perceptive, disciplined, and remarkably well-behaved. She understands the cameras. She understands protocol. And she frequently takes it upon herself to guide and protect her brothers. But that extraordinary maturity comes with a heartbreaking cost. Charlotte knows that she is not supposed to make mistakes. She is not supposed to lose her temper. She is expected to swallow her frustrations, control her emotions, and maintain the flawless image associated with the House of Windsor, no matter what might be happening behind closed doors. But Prince Louis is fundamentally different. Louis is the spark. He is the wild card. He is the child who operates through emotion rather than calculation, completely unbound by the rigid ancient rules that seem to dictate every movement of his older siblings. He is fiercely loyal, unpredictable, energetic, and deeply protective of the people he loves. And when someone allegedly crossed the line with Charlotte, Louis did not think about protocol. He did not think about the crown. He did not think about how his actions might look to the palace. He only thought about one thing: his sister. The incident reportedly happened during what should have been a routine and heavily supervised transition period on the sprawling grounds of Lambrook. But according to the details that allegedly emerged from horrified insiders, the atmosphere suddenly became tense, and the school's elite staff appeared completely unable to contain what was happening. The situation became increasingly toxic when an older student, reportedly from an intensely privileged aristocratic background, allegedly decided to target Princess Charlotte. And this was not described as an ordinary disagreement between children. It was allegedly something much more deliberate. A targeted humiliation. The older student reportedly cornered Charlotte, aggressively mocked her, invaded her personal space, and ultimately grabbed her arm in a harsh and dominating manner when she attempted to walk away. It was a disturbing display of entitlement. An apparent assumption that Charlotte, because of her royal training and her disciplined nature, would simply endure it. That she would remain silent. That she would never fight back. And for one heartbreaking moment, that assumption appeared to be correct. Charlotte froze. She was trapped between the instinct to protect herself and the years of royal discipline that had taught her to remain composed in the face of provocation. She tried to pull herself away with quiet dignity, her eyes filling with suppressed tears. She was desperately attempting to preserve the image expected of her while she was allegedly being mistreated. But the aggressor made one catastrophic mistake. They forgot that Prince Louis was watching. From across the courtyard, the 8-year-old prince reportedly saw his beloved older sister being pushed into a corner, unable to react freely because of the rules and expectations surrounding her. And for Louis, in that moment, all of the rigid etiquette of the British monarchy simply disappeared. He did not see a princess. He did not see a future royal figure expected to maintain perfect composure. He saw his sister being bullied. And what came next was not measured royal diplomacy. It was pure, unfiltered fury. In an explosive burst of defiance, Louis charged across the grounds. He did not hesitate. He did not stop to search for a teacher. He did not wait for an adult to intervene. He physically placed himself between the older and much larger student and Princess Charlotte. His fists clenched. His face flushed with anger. And his voice reportedly echoed across the suddenly silent schoolyard. "Don't touch my sister." Those words were enough to bring everything to a standstill. The sheer intensity of an 8-year-old prince standing up to someone much larger reportedly left the entire courtyard frozen. Louis allegedly shoved the aggressor backward and positioned his own small body directly in front of Charlotte. He stood his ground. He refused to move. And for those few agonizing seconds, the polished world of Lambrook School appeared to descend into complete paralysis. Teachers scrambled to intervene. Adults suddenly found themselves confronted with an extraordinary situation. A senior member of the royal family had become physically involved in a confrontation. But what allegedly happened after the confrontation was even more disturbing than the altercation itself. The immediate reaction of the Lambrook administration and the palace courtiers, the infamous men in grey suits, reportedly became a masterclass in institutional cowardice. Instead of immediately focusing on the student who had allegedly targeted a young girl, the machinery of the institution turned its attention toward Prince Louis. To the deeply conservative and image-conscious administrators, Louis's explosive reaction was apparently viewed as the bigger problem. A breach of decorum. A public relations nightmare. How could a prince lose his temper like that? How could he become involved in a physical confrontation? Behind closed doors, frantic and highly confidential discussions were reportedly held in the headmaster's office. The courtiers, terrified of any scandal that might make the royal children appear unruly, allegedly pressured the school to discipline Louis. The apparent plan was simple. Quietly reprimand the older student. Sweep the bullying beneath the surface. And heavily penalize Prince Louis to teach him one brutal lesson. Maintain the royal facade at all costs. They allegedly wanted an 8-year-old boy to apologize for defending his sister's physical safety. And then came the phone call to Adelaide Cottage. The palace expected Prince William to play the role of the dutiful and embarrassed future king. They expected him to accept the school's version of events. They expected him to reprimand his youngest son. They expected him to choose royal dignity over emotion. But what they got was a furious father. When that carefully sanitized phone call reached William and Catherine's home, the reaction was reportedly explosive. William is a man who has spent much of his life witnessing the consequences of a royal institution obsessed with image and appearances. He grew up watching his mother, Princess Diana, endure relentless scrutiny and pressure. He witnessed firsthand how the royal establishment could prioritize appearances over emotional reality. And for decades, William has had to live with those memories. But when it comes to his own children, he appears to have drawn a line that is almost impossible to cross. When he allegedly heard that his daughter had been cornered and aggressively handled, and that his youngest son was now being treated like a delinquent because he had stepped in to protect her, something inside the future king reportedly snapped. William did not wait for a carefully planned royal visit. He did not wait for his press secretaries to prepare a statement. He did not sit around debating how the situation might look in the newspapers. He moved like a father who believed his children were under threat. And when William's dark Range Rover reportedly pulled into the immaculate gravel driveway of Lambrook School, the atmosphere changed immediately. This was not a scheduled royal engagement. There were no smiles. No handshakes. No polite pleasantries. The Prince of Wales reportedly bypassed the traditional greeting protocols altogether. Witnesses allegedly described his expression as chilling. A cold, controlled fury. The kind of anger that does not need to be shouted to be understood. When William entered the headmaster's office, he reportedly found school administrators and a senior palace liaison gathered around a heavy mahogany table. They appeared prepared to discuss decorum. Prince Louis was reportedly sitting nearby. His small body rigid. His adrenaline still running through him. But now replaced by something much more painful. The realization that he might be in serious trouble. Princess Charlotte was nearby as well. Still visibly shaken. Still struggling to hold back her tears. And when William saw his children in that condition, while adult officials appeared more concerned about the school's reputation than what had allegedly happened to them, his anger reportedly reached another level entirely. William allegedly slammed the door shut with such force that the ancient windows rattled. He did not sit down. He stood over the administration and demanded answers. When the headmaster reportedly attempted to describe the situation as an unfortunate display of temper by Prince Louis that required disciplinary action, William cut him off. His voice, usually measured and diplomatic, allegedly became a quiet and devastating roar. He wanted to know exactly how a staff of trained educators had allowed his 9-year-old daughter to be physically intimidated on their watch. He wanted to know why the focus was suddenly on the 8-year-old boy who had intervened. Why was nobody asking what had happened before Louis reacted? Why was the child who allegedly initiated the confrontation not the central concern? And then the palace courtier reportedly made a critical mistake. Desperate to regain control of the situation, the courtier allegedly reminded William of the optics. Louis's physical reaction. His shouting. His behavior. All of it, they argued, was unbefitting of a royal prince. And perhaps, they suggested, a quiet apology from Louis could restore peace. That was the moment William's anger reportedly reached its boiling point. He turned his gaze toward the courtier. And made his position unmistakably clear. He did not care about the optics. He did not care about ancient protocols that demanded royal children suffer in silence. And he certainly did not care about protecting an institution's reputation at the expense of his own children's emotional safety. For William, the priority was simple. Human decency. Emotional safety. And protecting one another. Those things would come before the archaic demands of the crown. Louis had done what a brother was supposed to do. And William reportedly refused to allow him to be punished, humiliated, or forced into an apology for doing what he believed was right. He turned the entire conversation around. And according to the claims surrounding the incident, William even threatened to sever the royal family's relationship with Lambrook School if its leadership ever placed its elite reputation above the immediate safety and emotional well-being of his children again. The message was devastatingly clear. The royal family would not tolerate it. The officials were reportedly left in stunned silence. The polished mask of the establishment had been ripped away. And the old expectation that royal children should quietly endure everything simply because they were royal had suddenly collided with a father who refused to accept it. But the most emotional moment of the entire ordeal reportedly came after the confrontation. Once the officials had left the room, William's terrifying demeanor disappeared. He was no longer standing there as the future king. He was simply a father. He dropped down onto his knees in front of Prince Louis. The 8-year-old boy had reportedly spent the previous hour believing that he had committed some massive and unforgivable mistake by losing his temper. He looked at his father. Perhaps expecting a royal lecture. Perhaps expecting disappointment. Perhaps expecting to hear that he should have walked away. But that was not what happened. William reached out and pulled his youngest son into a fierce embrace. And with tears reportedly standing in his own eyes, he looked directly at Louis. He did not tell him to behave better. He did not tell him to remember his title. He did not tell him to think about the cameras. Instead, William reportedly told his son how proud he was. He reassured Louis that protecting his sister and standing up for his family when they are frightened is one of the most important responsibilities he could ever have. More important than a royal engagement. More important than a curtsy. More important than a crown. In that moment, William reportedly validated the fierce loyalty burning inside his youngest child. He made sure Louis understood that his instinct to protect the people he loved was not something to be ashamed of. And then William turned toward Charlotte. He reportedly wiped away a tear from her cheek and reinforced the bond between the three siblings. He assured her that she should never believe she has to silently endure mistreatment simply to protect the reputation of an institution. Her family would always be her shield. Her family would always stand beside her. And in that tiny, emotionally charged office, William was not simply comforting his children. He was breaking a generational pattern. For centuries, royal children have been raised with duty to the crown placed above almost everything else. Even above their emotions. Even above their personal relationships. Even above the bonds between siblings. And history has shown the devastating consequences that can follow such an upbringing. From the painful divisions within royal families to the heartbreaking tensions between generations, the institution has often demanded loyalty to duty before loyalty to emotion. The system can encourage competition. It can create pressure. It can make royal children feel as though every action is being judged through the lens of the crown. But this alleged incident at Lambrook School reveals why Prince William and Princess Catherine's approach to parenting could represent such a dramatic challenge to the old guard. William is reportedly raising his children to stand together. To protect one another. To value family loyalty. And to understand that being royal does not mean surrendering their humanity. By defending Louis's instinct to protect Charlotte, William was sending a powerful message. The House of Wales stands together. Against the pressure. Against the scrutiny. And against anyone who believes royal children should simply suffer in silence because of their titles. King Charles and Queen Camilla, watching from the heavily guarded walls of Windsor Castle, would have to recognize what this could mean for the future of the monarchy. The old rules may be changing. The expectation of silent suffering may be fading. And Prince Louis is no longer simply the cheeky, unpredictable little boy seen waving from the Buckingham Palace balcony. In this story, he becomes something else. A fiercely protective younger brother. A child willing to challenge expectations when someone he loves is threatened. A boy who, in one explosive moment, appeared to care more about his sister than about the royal rulebook.